Welcome back to VCS Connect. I'm your host, DAFPA. Hey, you know what we're doing today? We're going to be taking a look at this, the Intellivision Amico. Now, we're not going to get into, is it the greatest game ever? Is it a fraud? Is it a failure? Will we ever see it? Or it's coming out in the next few weeks. Not doing any of that. There are lots of channels out there on YouTube that talk about the Amico ad nauseum for the last 3.5 years. That covers both sides and a bunch in between. What we're going to do in this video is take the assumption that Intellivision is going into bankruptcy. And by all the FTC filing reports, they're in massive trouble. And so we're taking the stand of Intellivision is going to go bankrupt. They're going to sell off assets to cover debts. Is this a time for Atari or other developers to pick up some IPs? And so we're going to just take a look, a little bit of a what if Atari acquired a few IPs in a fire sale of Intellivision. Hey, future DAFPA here. Forgot to mention in that intro that it's not just easy to walk in and say, oh, here, developer, I'm taking over this game from this other company. It's in a quagmire of many legal issues, contracts, and what have you. Again, this is just a what if Atari or another company acquires these IPs and they're able to wrangle through the complicated mess that would be involved doing that. Most likely, companies won't do that. It's better to start off from scratch. But again, this is just a what if and just a fun little exercise of, these IPs and all that. Also, while I got your attention, hey, if you wouldn't mind, right down below, there's a subscribe and bell notification and a like. That helps us a lot help developing this channel, so would really appreciate that. All right, now back to what we were doing just a moment ago. I first want to talk about Breakout. Out of all the games we're going to be talking about here, this is the most likely of being acquired and continued on by Atari, because Breakout is an IP that Atari already owns. There was some kind of licensing deal between Intellivision to have Breakout. They also had Missile Command and Asteroids, two other Atari IPs that were going to appear on the Amico. And I think Warlords was also another one. Again, another Atari-owned IP. So out of all the games, this is the most likely that Atari can renegotiate a contract with Choice Provisions, who is the developer for this Amico version of Breakout. And you can see footage here. And it's an interesting game. Different perspective of the game, where traditionally Breakout is in a vertical movement. This is taken a horizontal. I'm not a big fan personally of the warped CRT look, but that's personal. I've heard other people who liked it. To each their own. I personally don't like it, but it looks like a lot of fun. It's got power-ups used in different ways compared to Breakout Recharged, and that's one thing that the one change I would probably make outside of that warped CRT look is, rename it. Rename it Super Breakout. There is a historical precedence of Atari having a Breakout and a Super Breakout simultaneously. They did it on the Atari on the 2600. The 5200 only had Super Breakout. But if you rename this Super Breakout, I don't think anyone would bat an eye. So again, this is, since Atari already owns this IP, this is the most likely to be acquired and released as it is, with a little bit of tweaking. And this would play so well on the VCS, because of the classic joystick controller that has the built-in paddle. So paddle games work so well on the VCS, and it would be a lot of fun to have this version as Super Breakout on the Atari VCS. Next game I want to talk about is Astro Smash. Astro Smash is probably one of the most recognizable games from the Intellivision catalog. And it's a simple gameplay. We'll do a little footage of here, starting out with the original. This is footage from some release video from Intellivision. And it's very simple gameplay. Asteroids or objects, sometimes satellites and all that, fall from the sky. And your job is to blast them, and as you blast things, you gain points, but if things get by you and hit the ground, you lose points, which is an interesting game mechanic that not many games had back then, and really have really utilized since. You know, the idea that you can lose points. I mean, there are some games out there that do that, but it's not a very common game mechanic. So that always makes Astro Smash a little bit different. And this would work well on the Atari VCS, you know, with either the modern controller or the classic joystick, either using it as a joystick or the paddle, you know, using the paddle in its paddle, you know, being able to rotate back and forth. Not necessary since movement is restricted to the left and the right. I don't think there's anything inherently that you got to use a paddle for on this. But, you know, Breakout feels better when you use a paddle, so there's no reason to think that Astro Smash wouldn't feel a little bit more fluid when you're using the paddle. And the classic joystick would take definite advantage of that. I'm a little bit mixed on this personally. I think, you know, from this footage and other future, you know, and footage that was further along than this, that I think this game needs a lot more work. It has a very it's so odd. It has a mixture of good graphics and cheap graphics. Like the painted backgrounds look really nice. And, you know, and I like how it changes scenery, you know, for different levels and all that, which you didn't really get in the original Astro Smash. Just the background changed different colors as you advanced the level, and things went to 2 times and 3 times and that. But the elements of the asteroids and the spaceships and the other enemies on there, it still looks like kind of cheap cell phone game flash animation, and I think that just personally, I think that just needs to be zhuzhed up and look a little slicker, little better quality. It just looks a little on the cheap side. It's got this weird mixture of flat painted, you know, nicely flat painted background with odd 3D-ish. It's just, it doesn't mesh, you know, really well. But I think the idea of Astro Smash works well. It can be enjoyable, especially with the power-ups and the variety of enemies that they have done in this modern remake on it. I think there's a lot of elements there that really enhance Astro Smash to another level compared to the original. So I think it would be worthy to acquire this and to advance it along, and I think it would fit well on the Atari VCS, as well as other platforms too. But yeah. Next I want to talk about Night Stalker. Another recognizable name from the Intellivision line, you know, along with Astro Smash and a few others. Night Stalker has a gameplay similar to that of Berserk. You know, to make a parallel there, and this is going to be the original footage there. So you have this not necessarily a maze, but like this dungeon where your character is running around to find the weapon and being hunted down by robots, and you have these nuisances of spiders and bats that paralyze you, so they don't kill you. Your main danger are the robots, and as you progress in points, the robots get more aggressive and more difficult, right? So the modern take of this certainly has upped the speed level. You know, where Night Stalker can be a little bit on the pokey side, it's still really good and things do speed up. But it has a kind of a slower pace to it. This is definitely not a slower pace. They've upped the action level on here. And the robots are a lot more, seem a lot more aggressive. But what is nice is that your player has a little bit more movement and a little freedom of movement, so even if they're like in this hallway here, they could still dodge a laser blast that's coming from a robot, where in the original game, if you were in that hallway, you only could go, you know, in this example here, left or right, and chances are you weren't outrunning the blast, especially if you're pretty close. So here you at least have ability to just kind of, you know, still go north and south in that hallway and not just be trapped. So that's great. And yeah, it's just, I think this looks really slick. It looks like a lot of fun, whether it's solo or with multiple players. And then what's really nice is that, and you'll see in a moment or so here, there's some kind of gaming parameters. I don't know if it's kill counts to, you kill X number of robots. I don't know what the parameters are, but you advance in level, which then changes the map, which you didn't have in the original version. It was always this map. Now this is like the first level, the homage to the original, so it's the same map layout. But you'll see in a moment here, that there's a glowing spot there. You go to that glowing spot, which I guess is the exit. I'm not, and you advance to the next level, and they changed the map. So that's awesome because changing of maps, giving you different things, advancing in a level, just helps in that replayability of a game. And so here you come up, now you're being advanced to the level, and boom, new map and new enemies. That's great, Now they're fighting, I don't know what, I've been calling them the blood clots, giant monsters, blood clots. But it looks great, And again, just that variety, just that, whoa, what's happening now, and the anticipation of seeing other levels, as you advance and having new enemies to deal with. That's just great. That just gives more excitement, more what's next, and wanting, prodding you on to play more. So this is awesome. This is being developed by Other Ocean Studios. And the game developers who are also doing the Cloudy Mountain remake, and Other Ocean is a solid company that having made many other games too. So I have no doubt this is going to be just a solid. I mean, it looks fun. I think it's going to be. So this is a game I think would be probably sell well in any platform, but I think it would be really nice on the Atari VCS. And I would love to see it on the VCS. So yeah, Night Stalker. One of those things. If Intellivision is going under, or at the very least the Amico is not coming out, it would be a shame to lose this. Potentially lose this version, and that would be a shame. So hopefully it can get ported into other platforms, and I would love to see it on the Atari VCS. Now we come to Cloudy Mountain, or when it first came out, it was known as Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. Over the years, when Intellivision lost the rights, with TSR, which is now a defunct company, and Wizard of the Coast owns the Dungeons and Dragons and the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons IP, Intellivision can't use that name without striking up a deal. So a lot of compilations that have come, in the past, afterwards, it was renamed as Cloudy Mountain. That was part of the lore of the story in the game, that you are an adventurer collecting two pieces of a crown in the Cloudy Mountain, right? And so now, naturally, it got renamed to Cloudy Mountain, not being able to use the name Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. So Cloudy Mountain, this is only a little bit. This is another game being developed by Other Ocean. They are doing the Night Stalker remake, all right? And this is really cool. It certainly has an Intellivision flair to it, with the, kind of the Running Man, a little slightly different, but a very fast-paced, fast-paced dungeon crawl, which is something that the Atari VCS at this moment doesn't really have. So this would be a really nice addition to have a dungeon crawl type game. It's very fast-paced, and it looks like a lot of fun, and visually it's very interesting, and certainly looks like fun with multiple people as well as solo. So yeah, probably after the newer Night Stalker, this Cloudy Mountain is another game that I really would love to see come out again. If the Amico doesn't fails to launch, is this something that Atari and the Atari VCS could purchase the IP, I think it would be worthy. I think the idea of it is really nice. I think the visuals of it nice. It kind of has a little bit of a hint towards the recharge style, that neon vector line. While that wasn't exactly vector line, there's elements, especially on the player characters, has that neon line outline. So it's got a visual, appeal that also fits in the line of a lot of the games that the Atari VCS has been cultivating. So it certainly would look like it would have a good home at the VCS, but it would fit in just about any other platform. I could see that this game being on the Switch, Xbox and PlayStation, but since this is an Atari VCS channel, I say it's better served on the VCS. That's just me, though. The next game I was going to talk about was Moon Patrol. Unfortunately, Moon Patrol is not going to exist. Moon Patrol was being developed along with Biplanes, which was a air combat type game, was being developed by a German developer company called Wasted Studios. Recently, it was made more publicly aware that Wasted Studios was liquidated. All right, so it does not exist anymore in July, like literally July 1st, 2021. So it was an unfinished state, although it looked, at least far enough along that it had a proof of concept, and it looked like fun gameplay. But unfortunately, it's not going to happen. Now, what we don't know currently is who has the code, who has the rights to the code, and a whole smear of legal issues about, property rights and IP and all that kind of stuff. So since there's a lot of questions regarding that, it's effectively dead until that can get cleared up. But it's been gone, again, July 1st, 2021. It's the company Wasted Studios, the developers, they were liquidated. So not only is Moon Patrol gone, but so is Biplanes. And it's a shame because this looked like a lot of fun, It was still very Moon Patrol, but it looked like it had enough elements, added in to kind of give a little bit of more, just a little bit extra, a little bit modern take. There's, behind that red X is some, looks like some kind of power up and what have you. A little more variety in terms of environment, a little more variety in terms of enemies coming at you. But it was still very Moon Patrol, and Moon Patrol is a very simple game. So it's a shame. This looked like a lot of fun, and it would have been great to have on any platform. But sadly, it is no more. So those are my thoughts of games that I would love to see put on the VCS, as well as other platforms. But since this is a VCS channel, I would love to see them on the VCS. Whether the Amico fails or the Intellivision company goes into bankruptcy and has to sell it off, that's irregardless. I would hope eventually that, even if the Amico came out, which unfortunately I have doubts that it will, would eventually port to other platforms, And if Intellivision does have to liquidate and sell IPs in order to cover loans and other financial debts, that I think these are IPs that Atari should be interested in, especially the Cloudy Mountain and the Night Stalker. I think those are two IPs that have potential future of being built up and adding more to it. Sequels and expansion of that. I think they would be great. So, we'll see what the future lies and which direction Intellivision has to go in. But those are my thoughts. Hey, I would love to hear your thoughts. Leave a comment down below of what games you would love to see on the VCS from the Intellivision catalog. and things like that. And also, hey, hit subscribe, hit like, and hit that bell button if you enjoyed this. And keep an eye out for more content coming out here on VCS Connect. Until then, you have a great day.